He was the lawyer everyone trusted, wealthy, respected, untouchable. But behind the polished smile and designer suits hid a darkness no one saw coming. When investigators uncovered a trail of staged accidents, forged documents, and a murder planned like a legal strategy, the truth shocked an entire city. This is the story of the millionaire attorney who weaponized the law and killed for profit. Welcome to Mindrix Story Channel. He was the kind of man people pointed at with admiration. The kind of lawyer who seemed to rise effortlessly above everyone else. With tailored suits, a luxury car, a lakefront home, and a reputation for winning the toughest cases, Richard Hale looked like the picture of success, a millionaire attorney whose life appeared perfect from the outside. But behind the polished exterior was a darkness that even those closest to him couldn't imagine. Richard had built his career helping families fight insurance companies. He knew every loophole, every trick, every clause buried deeply inside a policy. And somewhere along the way, the man who was supposed to defend innocence discovered something far more profitable, weaponizing the law itself. His first taste of this dark strategy came years earlier, long before the world knew his name. When Richard was just starting his practice, he struggled financially, fighting to pay rent and keep his small office running. During this time, he bought a small insurance policy on a failing business asset he secretly believed would collapse. When it did, he pocketed the payout. No one questioned it. No one suspected a thing. And Richard learned something dangerous. Insurance wasn't just protection, it could be profit. As his law career took off, Richard grew addicted to wealth, status, and power. He threw lavish parties, bought a second home, collected watches worth more than most people's yearly salaries, and surrounded himself with people who admired him. But the more he gained, the more he wanted. Soon, legitimate income wasn't enough. He began forging documents, manipulating claims, and creating staged scenarios for desperate clients who didn't realize he was pocketing the majority of the payout. And because he understood the system better than anyone, he made sure every fraudulent claim looked real. Over time, his operation evolved into a quiet empires of shell companies, forged signatures, and false beneficiaries, buried inside a maze of legal jargon. And still, investigators never looked his way. Why would they? He was the golden lawyer, the successful family man, the guy who donated to charities and shook hands with politicians. Richard believed he was invincible, but everything changed the year his wife, Emily, grew suspicious. Emily was the opposite of Richard, kind-hearted, patient, grounded. She trusted him for years, until strange financial documents started appearing in their home office. She noticed insurance policies with unfamiliar names, odd changes to their joint accounts, and secret meetings he never explained. When she confronted Richard, he brushed her off, telling her she was imagining things. But Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The moment that sealed her fate came when she overheard Richard arguing on the phone with someone she didn't recognize. 3:18 in. To shut everything down before the audit, Emily started digging. She spoke privately with a friend who worked at a financial firm. She asked questions. She pieced together things Richard hoped she would never discover. And one night, Emily found the final piece of large life insurance policy Richard had taken out on her. One she never signed, written in legal terms only he could understand. It was worth $2 million. Richard caught her staring at the document. And in that moment, he realized his empire faced one of two outcomes: exposure or elimination. That was the night Richard made the coldest decision of his life. He stopped being a lawyer. He became a murderer. In the weeks that followed, Richard played the perfect husband. He brought her flowers, planned a short weekend hiking trip, and made sure Emily believed he wanted to fix their marriage. But what she didn't know was that Richard had carefully chosen the location of a trail near a cliffside where accidents were not uncommon. He even filed the insurance paperwork in advance, quietly preparing the claim with a confidence that came only from years of manipulating the system. On the day of the trip, Emily sensed something strange. Richard was smiling too much, speaking too softly, acting too perfect, but she ignored her instincts, trying to believe that the man she loved still existed somewhere beneath the lies. They spent the morning hiking, taking photos, and enjoying the scenery. But when they reached a narrow edge overlooking a rocky slope, Richard stepped behind her. He had rehearsed this moment, convinced himself it was necessary, and as Emily looked out at the view, It was there. Her scream echoed through the trees, but moments later, there was silence. Richard didn't climb down. He didn't check on her. He didn't call for help. Instead, he calmly walked back to the car, drove home, and began preparing the story he would tell police. When first responders eventually determined the fall looked accidental, Richard believed he had escaped justice. He attended the funeral with a stone-cold composure, accepting sympathy with the same hands that had ended her life. And when he filed the insurance claim, he felt invincible. But there was one thing Richard didn't expect. Emily survived the fall long enough to whisper one sentence to the rescue team. "He pushed me." Those 3 words changed everything. Investigators reopened the case. Detectives reviewed Richard's financial history and discovered forged documents, suspicious policies, and beneficiaries tied to accounts under his control. Employees at his law firm came forward with stories of unexplained paperwork and untraceable transactions. A trail Richard had believed was invisible suddenly stood out clearly, and when investigators dug deeper, they uncovered something even darker. Richard had done this before. Not murder, but staged accidents, involving clients whose policies carried shockingly high payouts. People he coached, manipulated, and encouraged to take dangerous risks, only for him to collect most of the money afterward. Detectives realized Richard wasn't just a corrupt lawyer. He was a predator who used the law as his weapon. When officers finally arrived at his home with a warrant, Richard attempted to flee. He shredded documents, wiped computers, and tried escaping through a side door, but he didn't make it far. Within no worse, he was arrested on charges including insurance fraud, forgery, racketeering, conspiracy, and most importantly, first-degree murder. During the trial, prosecutors revealed how Richard planned Emily's death, forged her signature, and rehearsed the story he would tell investigators. The courtroom gasped when they heard Emily's recorded statement in the hospital, the last thing she ever said. Richard showed no emotion. No remorse, only frustration that his perfect plan had collapsed. In the end, the jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Richard Hale, the millionaire lawyer who built his empire on lies, was sentenced to life in prison without parole. The insurance companies he manipulated filed lawsuits. Families of his past clients demanded justice. His reputation crumbled. His empire disintegrated. And the man who once believed he could outsmart the system finally learned that even the smartest criminals eventually slip. But the most haunting part of this story isn't Richard describes it as how close he came to getting away with murder. How many people trusted him. How easily he blended into society. How convincingly he wore the mask of success. Because sometimes the most dangerous criminals aren't the ones hiding in the shadows. They're the ones smiling across the courtroom, shaking hands at fundraisers, and walking around in $1,000 suits. And behind that smile may hide a motive built on greed, manipulation, and the belief that they're smarter than everyone else. Richard Hale believed the law protected him. He believed wealth made him untouchable. He believed he could rewrite every truth. But in the end, the truth exposed him. This is the story of the millionaire lawyer who murdered for insurance money, and how the very system he once used to control others ultimately became the one that brought him down.